The Democrats are falling apart at the seams. What we are witnessing isn't just political infighting, it's an all-out collapse from within. If you needed proof that the party is crumbling under the weight of its own contradictions, look no further than the dramatic events unfolding across the country. From Pennsylvania to California, from the halls of The View to the doors of CNN, the left is in flames, and in some cases literally. In today's video, we uncover a series of shocking developments that should have every American paying attention. This isn't hyperbole, this is happening right now. It started with something that sounds too insane to be true. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's home was firebombed.
Cody Balmer is the name of the suspect who has been arrested. He actually had a friend of his, a female, call police to tell them he wanted to turn himself in. He turned himself in. He was given his Miranda rights. Here's what we know. He said that he walked about a mile to get to the house. And that's when he he jumped the fence, threw the first incendiary device into a room. Police tell us that was the piano room. And then it took off. And then he went to the second window he saw and threw a second incendiary device in. That would be the dining room. It took off. He said it was Heineken beer bottles that he had put gasoline in. He jumped through the second window. He was actually in the mansion at that point and then finished his business and left. He was asked by police, did you believe that somebody was going to be asleep in the house at that time? He said, yeah, I knew that was a possibility.
But what's even more explosive than the flames was the identity of the alleged attacker, a fellow Democrat. You heard that right. Not some extremist from the fringes, not a right-wing radical, but a card-carrying, dyed-in-the-wool Democrat.
And in this moment of darkness, we are choosing to see light. We appreciate the light that you have shined upon us. Pennsylvania State Police, led by Colonel Christopher Paris, will brief on the specifics of what transpired. But we do know that this attack was targeted. Person's specific motive yet, but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other. Directed at a party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay. And it has to stop.
The story is still developing, but early reports suggest political tension, ideological betrayal, or maybe just plain madness fueled the act. Either way, it paints a picture of a party turning on itself. This is not some isolated event. The Democrats are eating their own. What we're seeing is a meltdown of trust, civility, and unity within the party's ranks. What was once hailed as the party of compassion and inclusiveness is now a battlefield of clashing egos, failed policies, and ideological confusion. And if the East Coast is in flames, the West Coast isn't faring any better. Governor Gavin Newsom, once the progressive poster boy, now the defensive desperate figurehead, has been reduced to begging for federal aid. Why? Because California's Medicaid system is circling the drain. Billions have been poured into inclusive healthcare policies that now overwhelmingly cater to illegal immigrants. The result? Overcrowded hospitals, empty coffers, and a worn-out system that can't keep up. Newsom has taken to the airwaves, pleading with Washington, saying that the budget crisis is complex, but the people aren't fooled. When you prioritize illegal immigration over your own citizens, you shouldn't be surprised when the system buckles. Californians are tired and, frankly, angry. They're watching their tax dollars disappear while their own access to care diminishes.
Gavin Newsom says the state short on funds for its Medicaid program known as Medi-Cal. The state expanded the program to cover undocumented immigrants. The governor asked lawmakers to approve another $2.8 on top of a $3.4 billion loan issued last week. So California now making up a $6.2 billion shortfall in Medi-Cal funds, the money meant to keep through June.
The realities are the realities. You have to balance budgets. We balance our budget. Revenue is holding up. I don't see anything significant along the lines of what some have asserted. But I do see the need to make adjustments and changes broadly in the Medicaid system.
Meanwhile, over on The View, Whoopi Goldberg took things to a whole new level. In a surreal and rambling monologue, she suggested, without irony, that the United States should simply get rid of the Department of Education. Yes, that happened.
We have to always do, regardless of who you voted for, you still got to pay your rent, you still got to take care of your kids, you still got to take care of your business. And maybe some of what's happening, like, they're trying to take apart the education.
Yes.
Maybe that is a good thing, because maybe it will force us to make sure that our kids actually get what they need. Maybe it'll force us to go to our state and say, listen, I want to make sure, since you're taking all this money from my taxes, that my kids get exactly what they need. I don't have to wait for the government to do it. We can do it. This is now in our hands. This is in our hands. And nobody wants to do it because it's a bitch. But you know what? If it comes down to your survival, this is what you got to do. You got to take care of what you got to take care of. And they're telling me that we're going to be right back.
A woman with no formal political background is calling for the elimination of an entire federal department on national television. It would be comical if it weren't so terrifying. This isn't just a slip of the tongue. It reflects a deep, growing anti-institutionalism festering on the left. The hypocrisy is staggering. The very same people who cried foul when others questioned federal authority are now calling for entire departments to be shut down. It's not about principles anymore, it's about panic. When your policies fail and your base becomes restless, you turn to blame and destruction. And let's not forget CNN, the media machine that's usually quick to cover for Democratic scandals. Even they couldn't ignore the firebombing of Governor Shapiro's home. Their report, hesitant and guarded, finally admitted that the attacker was believed to be politically affiliated with the governor's own party. It was the softest way they could say, yes, this is a Democrat-on-Democrat crisis. But the truth bleeds through. Even their trusted anchors looked visibly shaken, like the illusion was beginning to shatter right there on live television. The Democrats promised unity, but what they've delivered is division. They promised solutions, but gave us chaos. They spoke of hope, but we're witnessing fear, infighting, and failure. The firebombing, the collapsing Medicaid systems, the on-air meltdowns. These are not the signs of a healthy party. They are the warning bells of a Titanic that's already taken on too much water, and Americans are watching closely. The question is no longer if the Democrats will implode, it's how long it will take and how much damage they'll do on the way down.